All right, is this thing on? Okay. All right, and welcome to another episode of Sports Biz from an agent's perspective. You're with your host, Zila, aka Chestam Bekela. And yeah, we're bringing you guys, awesome sporting content. However, today's episode, it's going to be a little different. It's not so much as we're going to talk about, the business of professional sports, more so just about things, involving the game. Today's topic, we're actually going to talk about finding that next chapter, post playing career. Okay. So make sure you stick around. Like I'm saying, I mean, every now and then we're going to have, these kind of episodes where we just get real and we just talk about just other facets of, the business and the industry of professional sports. I don't always just want to hit you guys with, um, for example, content about, this contract and that contract and this, everything that is just solely focused on business. Sometimes it's good to take a look at the industry holistically, you know? So that's why every now and then we're going to get real, man, and we're just going to unpack and talk about the realities, of going into such an industry such as professional sports. And like I said, today we're gonna delve into, you know, finding that next chapter, right? Once the playing career is done. But anyway, before we get into that, just to let you guys know, I think this is episode 163. As we still climb up, our main goal, is by the end of this year, we should at least have gotten to 200 episodes. That's where we want to reach now, to get up to 200 episodes. And then obviously we keep climbing from there. But it's good to just take it day by day, man, and week by week. And again, before we get into today's episode, I do want to apologize to you guys that an episode didn't actually drop last week. And I have a pretty good explanation for that. So, February is the month of, agent registration renewals. So, I'm currently in the process of renewing my rugby agent license, and it takes quite a while. It's not as quick as renewing your football agent license, where it's literally just you go onto the platform, the FIFA agent platform, and then you pay the fee, and then your license is automatically renewed. With the rugby, it's totally different. There are steps to it, and you actually need to retake the test that you took the first time when you registered as an agent. So it's a lot. All right, it's a lot. It's a lot. But yeah, so that's what held me up last week. Like I said, I underestimated how much of the process it is, and it literally took me the whole of last week just to do certain things. You need to go on the online learning platforms, get a certificate for this, do this, get a certificate for that, and it's like, oh my god. But yeah, we here, and I had to do that because on Friday will be D-Day in terms of getting the work done, because after February 28th, that's a cutoff date. If you don't do it by then, you are deemed as like applying for the first time, which means the agent fee that I would have to pay if I didn't get it done in time would be the same as what I paid the first time I registered, you know, as an agent. And I'll tell you one thing, guys. This as amazing as it is, to get licensed as a sports agent, getting this kind of accreditation, it's not cheap. You know, it really is not cheap. Excuse me. So I do encourage that if anyone would ever want to get into the business of becoming a sports agent, I really encourage you to make sure that you do have a day job in the beginning, because there are costs involved with getting the accreditation and everything done. So see it as a way of, working the day job, saving up money to invest in yourself. All right. Because once you're able to pay to take the exam, pay to get the license fee registration and everything, then you're able to recoup that money, obviously, by getting into the industry and, getting whatever deals you can get done. So it's really a process, and there's levels to it. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been busy with. In any case, before again we get into today's episode, with reference to what I just said, if you are somebody, who's been following our content and you are interested in learning about how to basically dip your toes in the sports industry as a sports agent, getting into athlete representation, we do offer an online course which is available on our website, athletenetwork.net. That is www.athletenetwork.net. You just go onto the pricing section. On the pricing tab, you click on there. There'll be an introductory video about what the sports agent course entails, and then there's also information with regards to what course content you can consume. And yeah, all you got to do is just sign up, pay the fee, and learn how to become a sports agent. Again, full disclosure: once you get a certificate from completing our course, that does not mean that you can go out and represent an athlete. Our course is an introduction into the industry. So once you take our course, you still need to get accredited, which means if you want to be a football agent, you still need to take the FIFA exam. So you need to make sure you reach out to FIFA and get involved with them. If you want to become a World Rugby agent, you need to get in touch with World Rugby. If you want to become an agent within your union, so for example, let's say you're in Japan and you want to become a rugby agent, you have to take the internal exam that is set up by the Japan Rugby Football Union. If you're in South Africa, same thing. If you want to become a South African rugby agent, there is a test that you can take in South Africa that is sanctioned by the South African Rugby Union. So you'd have to reach out to them and get proper accreditation from them. You know, well, let me just say final accreditation from them, because you need to be accredited by a sports federation in order to begin operating as an agent. Okay, so that's what you need to make sure and we actually mentioned this within our course as well, that it's important that after taking the course, you still need to go a step further and take the agent exam with whatever sporting federation of whatever sport you want to get into. Same thing with basketball. Same thing with if you want to represent track and field athletes. There are platforms and sporting federations you need to get in touch with um, to make sure that you enroll and you take the exam via them. Our course is an introduction. We teach you about the industry as a whole, and basically what to do once you are in the industry, how to market yourself as an agent, how to market athletes, what you should look for when athletes reach out to you to give you certain information. Like we give you that type of information within our course. It's a really good course. We sell it through our platform, athletenetwork.net, and we're actually selling it through Udemy as well. And we've been getting some great reviews about it. So if you want to become a sports agent or if you want to learn about the sporting industry, make sure you sign up for the course. All right. Okay. Now, getting into today's content. Let me just have some water. I just actually came back from a run. So that's why I'm. And yeah, it was a pretty good run. It was a pretty good run. Anyway, guys, like I said, today we're going to get a little bit real. And we're going to talk preparing for that next chapter. All right. Now, a lot of people don't know about this because, again, we see professional athletes, playing out their careers. We see them, let's say a guy is able to last, if he's lucky, 10 years, or some, I mean, nowadays, players can play up to 14, 15 years. And we always think in our minds when we look at those guys, we always see them as people that seem like they just play the sport forever, you know. Again, in just going further, in just talking further, we've witnessed, baseball players who are able to play into their 40s. We witnessed in American football a guy like Tom Brady who was able to play until he was like 45 years old, you know. Um, just witnessing stuff like that, again, in our minds, that makes us think that professional athletes are just always going to be able to play whatever game they've been blessed with talent to be able to entertain us with. We actually sometimes forget that in many instances, except for the outliers who are able to play well into their 40s and stuff like that, a lot of guys retire pretty young. You get players who retire when they are in their 20s, 29. You get guys who retire when they're in their 30s, you know. And I mean, yes, they've done well in their set profession, which is the sport, and they can now relax and whatnot. But to retire at age 30 something, come on, that's still pretty young. That's still a whole lot of life to live, you know. So one thing, man, that's just been heavily, on my mind these last couple of months. And as a result of this, we've actually got a book coming out that is talking about how to transition and evolve um, within the sporting industry. Is because it's actually one of the reasons why I'm talking about what I'm talking about today. It's it's really one of those things not a lot of athletes talk about. A lot of guys struggle with that transition, once the playing career is done. Obviously, we never get to hear about it because some of them they ride off into the sunset and into oblivion, and we never hear of them. It's only a set few, especially with the rise of podcasting. Excuse me, man. I've got phlegm on my throat. Especially with the rise of podcasting, that a lot of guys actually come on shows and they express how much the first couple of months or the first couple of years after retirement, after they finish playing sport, just how much they struggled to sort of like find their place in the world again. Because again, when you're a professional athlete, man, you are in this bubble. Your needs are catered for most of the time. Every time you sign a contract to go play for a club, everything, when you get to that country or when you get to that city, everything is sorted out for you. Your accommodation, your apartment that the club is going to rent for you, that's already ready for you, most of the times well furnished. It's got everything. um, Again, depending on where you're going to play, sometimes a car is organized for you, so you don't have to do anything. So you go through life with this treatment, and you go through life being used to this, how can I say, this kind of spoon-fed treatment. And then once you're retired, there's nobody to do that for you anymore. And for some guys, it can really be a major shock. It can honestly be a major shock. um, Now realizing that everything that they need to do it on their own. There's nobody that's gonna have it handled for them. It can really be daunting for a lot of guys. And remember, most of the time when you sign your first professional sports contract, you're still a kid. I mean, some guys are blessed to sign contracts at the age of, I mean, what, 18, 19, and then they sign their last contracts, well into their 30s. So that means for literally the past 10 or so years, 15, 18, 20 years, they've literally had everything done for them. So they get used to that kind of thing where they're just used to that everything is laid out for them. The red carpet is just always laid out for them. So now when they retire, once that last contract runs out and they have to pack up their locker and they're standing there and they have to now literally go leave the locker room and go out into the world, it can really be a daunting place, man. You know, I've met, a lot of athletes who have, openly expressed how much they struggled, and again, um, just referencing again with guys who are very open about it. I mean, I remember last year reading a post that, a very good friend of the show, man, shout out to Wandim Chegevu, Wandile, who actually wrote on his LinkedIn that he had been retired from professional rugby for about 6 months, and although he had found his next step, he was still struggling with just structuring, filling up his days, so to speak. Um, And again, that's where the idea came to me that what, a lot of guys, honestly, I'm sure have it way worse than him. Where at least because with him, he's pursuing higher education. I think he's doing his masters now in psychology and stuff. So he already knows what his second chapter is going to be. Now imagine the guys who didn't go to school, who are not prepared to go back, go to university once they retire. Imagine how much, how lost they feel in terms of having that structure, moving forward, finding ways to fill up their days. It gets really, really, really tough, guys. Like, you have no idea. And it would be unfair of us as society, or, of society, to just accept these guys to just seamlessly, adjust to life in the real world, getting an office job and stuff like that. It's not that easy as well. It's a totally, totally different, um, type of adjustment that they need to make, you know? So yeah, man. So again, just doing that kind of research, and then I went deeper, man, and I started researching, guys from different sporting codes, athletes who played professional basketball, NBA, athletes who played, in the NFL. I mean, with them, I've been hearing their stories. In fact, that's why a lot of them, I mean, never mind the whole CTE thing. That's why a lot of them also struggle, with mental health issues and, substance abuse once they retired. It's not so much as maybe because of their bodies being broken down and their minds being broken down. It's because that person just, he's struggling to adjust in society, not being in that locker room and not being known for what he does, like, having 50, 60,000 people chanting your name and all of that stuff. For some guys, that becomes a drug, man. That becomes a certain high. And to come down from that is not always easy. You can't come down from being in a place where you had 50, 60,000 people chanting your name, to for you to go now sit in an office and just grind away the 9 to 5 like a normal person. It's, come on, that's asking a bit much, even though, yes, in some instances that is what needs to happen, because again, not every single former professional athlete is lucky enough to land a coaching job. Not every athlete is blessed enough to get broadcasting jobs with with major networks. So a lot of guys are just, they have to figure it out, man, and that's what it's about. That's literally what it's about. And it can be daunting, it can be tough, but like I said, do not fear, for help is on the way. um Again, by me writing the book that I wrote, man, how to evolve and transition within the sports industry, I'm not trying to say that I know everything, but I do know a little something about a little something. I once was a sportsman myself, playing at professional and semi-pro level. I think I garnered enough experience. And again, my transition, I mean, it wasn't difficult, because I was fortunate, man, that I actually prepared for my second chapter before my first chapter even came about. You know, when I look at my life, man, I'm really grateful for certain things, and it's only now that I'm older, like when you play things back in your mind and you're like, okay, this is why this happened, this is why that happened, because on my come up, like when I was chasing my dream of becoming a rugby player, I got injured a lot, from 17 up until around 20. Yeah, from 17 up until around 23. No, not 20, until around 21. Yeah, 22. I got injured a lot, In fact, even 23 and 24, up until I graduated. I got injured a lot because I suffered from, soft muscle tissue injuries. You know, I struggled a lot with my groins. I struggled a lot with my hamstrings. Hamstrings was the worst. Groin, in fact, I think I only ever struggled with a groin like once or twice. Hamstrings were my biggest kryptonite. And when I got to my career later on, I was actually grateful for those setbacks I suffered, from the age of 17 right up until 20, 21, 22, 23. Because because of that, every time I got injured, like it happened every season, guys. I'm not lying to you. Every single season, it didn't matter how well I prepared. Every single season, there was a definite guarantee that at some point during the season, I'm going to tear my hamstring and I'm going to be out for like 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. So when I was still living at home, this was when I come back from like Poch and I was living at home and playing rugby at Tux, University of Pretoria. My parents actually started saying to me that, you know what, when you're injured, don't worry about it. Just continue, just focus on your studies, you know? And that's what I did. Like, I was studying through UNISA, man, and I was like, you know what? And they were like, we'll support you on your rugby thing. We'll make sure we'll pay for your physio and whatever you need. All we ask is that you just focus on getting this, BCom degree that you're working towards. So that was my deal with the folks. And not knowing back then that I was actually, how can I say, I was actually solidifying and working on my next chapter once the sporting thing was done. And that's exactly what happened, man. Like, you know, I was fortunate to graduate with a BCom degree. And once I actually graduated, I started playing the game with such a free spirit because a year after I graduated, that's when I got an opportunity to go play in Hong Kong. And that's when I also went to play in France and then obviously finished off playing here in Japan. But all those times, in all those places I went to go play, I never had a worry in the world, because the one thing that I always told myself was, as amazing as this ride is, being able to play rugby in all these different countries, I had to be cognizant of the fact that it could end at any time because rugby is a contact sport. So it could have ended at any time. But my mom, when she was still alive, because my father passed away just before I graduated. Um, but yeah, with my mom, when she was still alive, she was not worried because that's the one thing she said once I graduated. She's like, you know what? Now you can go after your rugby dreams with everything you have because now I don't have to worry about you. I don't have to worry if the rugby thing doesn't work out or God forbid you get injured and you're never able to play again. She's like, now I don't have to worry. Now you can just use the degree you have to find your place in the world, you know. So again, it's only when I came to the my retirement, like when I stopped playing. Don't get me wrong, when I had to quit playing, I was still it was still an emotional time, because this was something I'd done for so long. This was something I'd been doing since 1999. For me to literally now decide in 2019 that after the season, boom, this is it. So for 20 years, I was able to look forward to rugby season, and now for the first time in my life, I had to imagine a life without the game. So obviously, on that perspective, I was crushed. I was sad, but I never once for a moment was afraid that, oh, what am I going to do next? Because I was like, I prepared for my second chapter way before my first chapter even took off. So I was one of the lucky ones, man. I think my situation was a bit outlierish. And again, it's just credit to my folks, man. Education was just a non-negotiation in my household. Like there was no getting around it. I remember there were times when my BCom degree got so tough and I was contemplating on quitting my studies or changing to study something else, and my parents wouldn't let me. They were like, no, see this thing through, you know and right now, man, I don't want to lie to you guys. Like, I'm so so grateful that I stuck it out because a lot of the skills I learned within my BCom degree, because I mean I majored in marketing in undergrad, it's stuff that I'm doing now. Me being able to express myself on platforms like podcasts and know about things like digital marketing, it's because of the fact that I studied marketing, you know. And I mean, this is not me preaching. This is not me saying that every single athlete now you need to enroll in university. I know university is not for everybody, but I do encourage you that you learn a trade or some sort of skill. Right now, you can take online courses. You don't have to enroll in a 4-year institution. You can enroll in online courses and learn certain skills and actually just apply them as a way for you to move forward, you know. So yeah, man, that's pretty much what the focus of this podcast was. I don't want to delve too much into what's in the book, but I basically share methods on how guys can transition, and certain things that they can try, you know. Because remember, you having played professional sports for a certain number of years, it's actually given you the platform to be able, to be in front of a whole, a large audience. And basically, what I talk about within the book is how to leverage the platform that you have, you know. And most importantly, what I encourage in the book, man, is that, guys, for you athletes who are active athletes, or maybe guys who've already retired, the one thing I would say to the guys who are still playing: don't wait until that last contract for you to now start scrambling and thinking, shit, what am I going to do after I've retired? Don't wait for that last contract. Do it now. Start now. I mean, if you're 23, 24, that's actually the right age to start, because now you're hot. Now you're a hot commodity. Do it while you're a hot commodity, because when you're still a hot commodity, that allows you to be able to leverage certain relationships, and that's going to open doors for you. All right. But like I said, guys, the book is coming soon, and I hope that you know it can help guys who are currently transitioning, or guys who are looking to make a transition and are just worried about what the second chapter is going to look like. With the online world, man, there are so many opportunities out there, but it's just a shame that you know such information isn't easily made available to a lot of guys. You have to go out and seek it. So that's why I'm just letting you guys know that, yeah, at MAG Athlete Network LLC, man, yeah, we're working on a book. It's actually done now. We just got to touch a few things up, and we will be releasing it soon, because all of this is all about finding purpose once you're done playing. That's all it is. It's about finding purpose, because it doesn't matter whether you retire with a lot of money. If you retire with a lot of money and you've got no purpose, that's how athletes go broke, because you end up just spending frivolously because you're trying to fill a void. And unfortunately, the money runs out and you don't know what else to do. And then, poof, you're back to square one, to where you were before you got the big contracts. And that's not where you want to see yourself, you know? So make sure you check out the book, guys. Definitely when it's out, I'll make sure to drop the link. I'll share the links. We're definitely going to release it in digital form, which will be the ebook, and then we're also going to release it as a paperback. All right, so it'll probably be a collaboration between our online platform, Athlete Network, as well as Amazon as well. We'll probably distribute it through there as well. But look out for it, man. How to evolve and transition within the world of sport. We're going to bring a lot of information. All right. Make sure you check out our merch that's available online. We've got new stuff as well. Make sure you check that stuff out. I'll make sure to drop the link on the description of the podcast as well. All right. It's really been good chatting to you guys, man. And again, apologies for being MIA last week. It was busy times. All right. But with all that, make sure you guys have a good day. It's pretty cold in Japan, but it's getting warmer. As we say, Otsukare sama desu, meaning see you next time. Cheers. Bye.